At precisely 2:17 p.m. in the Gulf of Oman, 68 Iranian sailors aboard a Russian-built submarine made a decision that would become a stark case study in the persistent danger of obsolete weapons. The Iris Tariq, one of Iran's 3 operational Kilo-class diesel-electric submarines, had been tracking the USS Nimitz carrier strike group for 41 hours. Through a periscope designed during the Reagan administration, the captain observed the aircraft carrier's wake carving white streaks across the blue water. Range: 11,200 meters, bearing steady, speed constant. The calculations seemed perfect, but they were not. The Nimitz was not alone. 124 kilometers to the southwest, a Virginia-class attack submarine, the USS Mississippi, had been shadowing the Tariq since its departure from Bandar Abbas 6 days earlier, recording every valve hiss, every propeller revolution, every time the diesel engines charged the batteries. The Americans knew the Iranian submarine's exact position before its own navigator had even finished plotting its course. The concept of surprise existed only within the Tariq's hull. Welcome to Border Watch Daily, where we delve into the strategic confrontations that redefine modern naval power. Submarine warfare adheres to a brutal physics. You cannot destroy what you cannot target, and you cannot target what is observing you from angles you'll never see. In this incident, the Iranians were operating a 1,992 submarine utilizing 1970s Soviet torpedoes against an aircraft carrier protected by surveillance networks that treat the ocean as a 3-dimensional chessboard. The technological gap was not measured in years, but in generations. The Kilo-class submarine represents decent Cold War engineering now trapped in a maintenance nightmare. Iran acquired 3 of these submersibles from Russia between 1992 and 1996 for approximately $600 million each. Measuring 74 meters long with a surface displacement of 2,325 tons and diesel-electric propulsion, their design prioritizes stealth over speed and endurance. Their maximum submerged speed reaches about 48 kilometers per hour, and the operational depth is capped at 240 meters. The hull is covered with anechoic tiles designed to absorb enemy sonar pings, but Iran struggles to maintain them in the warm, corrosive waters of the Persian Gulf. Large sections have deteriorated, creating acoustic signatures that make these submersibles easier to detect than their Soviet designers ever intended. The Tariq's crew operated under layers of self-delusion. They believed their approach went undetected because the American surface ships had an altered course. They interpreted silence as invisibility. What they failed to grasp was that modern anti-submarine warfare operates on different principles. You don't reveal a detection until you need to act. You track, you catalog, you wait. Inside the Tariq's cramped weapons compartment, torpedo tube number 1 was flooded with seawater. The weapon loaded was a Test 71 Mk, the export variant of Russia's wire-guided heavy torpedo. This 1,981 technology is offered to nations unable to afford modern alternatives. The torpedo weighs 1,820 kilograms with a 205-kilogram high-explosive warhead. It travels at 74.08 kilometers per hour, powered by silver-zinc batteries and guided by a wire from the submarine. Its maximum range is approximately 20 kilometers at low speed. The Test 71's guidance system relies on commands transmitted via a copper wire that spools out behind the torpedo like a fishing line. The submarine's fire control computer sends trajectory corrections through this wire, steering the weapon towards its target. When the torpedo gets close enough, it severs the wire and activates its own active sonar to home in on and destroy the target. In theory, this gives the firing submarine control over most of the attack. In practice, the wire snaps if the submarine maneuvers too aggressively, or if the torpedo encounters thermal layers that 1970s designers never anticipated. The Tariq's crew had never fired a live Test 71 inches combat. Their last training exercise with practice torpedoes was in 2019. At 2:22 p.m., the order was given in Farsi. Tube 1, fire. Compressed air expelled the Test 71 from its tube. The weapon's motor ignited. The wire began to spool out from both the torpedo and the submarine. The Iranian fire control team transmitted steering commands via the copper connection, guiding their fish towards the carrier's massive thermal signature 11 kilometers away. The American response was not immediate. It was pre-positioned. 90 seconds before the Iranian torpedo launch, the USS Halsey, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, positioned 25, 93 kilometers from the Nimitz, had deployed an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter. This wasn't a reaction. It was a choreographed maneuver. The destroyer's AN/SQS 53C bow sonar had detected the Tariq's torpedo tube flooding sequence. The sound had propagated through the water at 1,500 meters per second. Halsey's sonar operators identified the acoustic signature in less than 7 seconds. The MH-60R carries sensors that transform helicopters into flying anti-submarine warfare platforms. Its AN/AQS 22 dipping sonar deploys a transducer on a cable that can listen at depths of up to 460 meters. The helicopter also carries sonobuoys, disposable listening devices that are parachuted into the water and transmit acoustic data back to the aircraft. Each sonobuoy costs approximately $1,400, and the MH-60R can carry dozens. The helicopter's mission system processes acoustic data in real time, sharing target information with surface ships and submarines via encrypted data links. Less than 180 seconds after the torpedo launch, the helicopter had dropped 8 sonobuoys in a grid pattern between the Tariq and the Nimitz. These sensors created an acoustic fence. The Test 71 had to pass through a monitored area of water to reach its target. The Americans weren't guessing where the torpedo was. They were watching it swim. The carrier's defensive posture shifted from routine to active. The AN/SLQ-25 Nixie-towed torpedo decoy was deployed from the stern. This noisemaker device is trailed behind the ship by a cable about 610 meters long. It generates sounds designed to mimic a ship's acoustic signature, thus drawing acoustically guided torpedoes away from the actual hull. The Nixie is effective against torpedoes that listen for propeller and engine noise. However, the Test 71 does not care about acoustic signatures. It is wire-guided until the very last moments, following commands from a human operator staring at a fire control screen, not automated sensors that can be fooled by decoys. This is the problem with Soviet-era wake-homing and wire-guided torpedoes that has concerned defense analysts since the Cold War. Traditional countermeasures don't work. You cannot decoy a weapon directed by a person observing your real position, but you can neutralize its guidance. The USS Mississippi represents an entirely different category of naval weapon. Virginia-class attack submarines are built around the philosophy that stealth enables lethality, measuring 114, 9 meters long, with a submerged displacement of 7,800 135 tons. The Mississippi is larger than the Tariq, yet infinitely quieter. Its hydrojet propulsor eliminates the cavitation noise created by conventional propellers. Its hull coating absorbs sonar returns. Its S9G nuclear reactor generates 40,000 horsepower without the Mississippi ever needing to surface and run noisy diesel engines to recharge batteries. The BQQ-10 sonar suite processes acoustic data via algorithms capable of distinguishing a shrimp colony from a submarine at 7408 kilometers. The Mississippi, still shadowing from the depths, did not fire torpedoes. Instead, it activated something quieter and far more devastating. Its BQQ-10 sonar array illuminated with a single active ping, a solitary sound pulse transmitted at maximum power directly towards the Tariq. The acoustic shock wave struck the Iranian submarine like a physical blow. Inside the Tariq, the sonar ping was loud enough to vibrate equipment and temporarily deafen anyone not wearing hearing protection. More importantly, it revealed to the Iranian captain exactly what he feared but hadn't confirmed. An American attack submarine was right behind him, close enough to hear his heartbeat. Close enough for its Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes to reach his engine room in less than 90 seconds. The Mark 48 ADCAP represents the culmination of decades spent perfecting a single weapon. These torpedoes weigh 1,588 kilograms with a 295 kilogram high explosive warhead. They travel at speeds exceeding 186 kilometers per hour, thanks to Auto-Fuel 2 monopropellant. Their maximum range exceeds 50 kilometers. The guidance system uses a fiber optic wire that doesn't snap like copper, active and passive sonar, capable of discriminating targets in cluttered environments, and artificial intelligence that enables autonomous search patterns if the wire is severed. The Mark 48 is designed to detonate beneath a ship's keel, creating a bubble that breaks the vessel's spine. The Iranian captain faced a choice with no good option: continue the attack and die, or cut the wire and surface. He cut the wire. The Test 71 torpedo, suddenly blind, began its terminal search pattern. Its active sonar activated, frantically pinging, searching for a target signature. The weapon circled, looking for the massive hull it had been directed towards. The problem was physics. The 1981 designed torpedo seeker could not distinguish the Nimitz's complex thermal wake from the stratified water temperatures of the Gulf of Oman. After 6 minutes of searching, the torpedo's battery began to falter. Its motor slowed. Its computer recognized it had missed its target. Then it detonated. The explosion occurred 340 meters off the Nimitz's starboard stern. The blast created a pressure wave that propagated through the water, not close enough to crack the keel or breach the hull, but sufficient to vibrate the ship and send shockwaves through the compartments. Sailors felt the deck tremble. Alarms blared at damage control stations. But the carrier's double hull absorbed the shock without structural compromise. The explosion's energy dissipated into the ocean instead of tearing steel. Damage assessment took 14 minutes. Minor flooding in a ballast tank. Hull integrity maintained. Propulsion systems operational. Flight deck serviceable. The Nimitz continued its course without reducing speed. The Tariq surfaced 4 minutes after the explosion. 68 Iranian sailors stepped onto a rust-streaked deck and stared at an empty horizon. No American ships visible, no aircraft overhead. Just the humiliation of knowing they had been tracked the entire time, permitted to launch, then thwarted, without a single shot being fired at them. The USS Mississippi shadowed the Iranian submarine all the way back to Bandar Abbas. Every acoustic signature recorded, every maneuver cataloged, every weakness documented. The Virginia-class submarine never revealed its exact position nor fired a weapon. It didn't need to, but the story wasn't over. 43 hours later, another Iranian Kilo-class submarine suffered catastrophic flooding during training exercises in the Mediterranean. The official Iranian statement blamed mechanical failure. Western intelligence analysts noted the timing. The Mississippi had transmitted detailed targeting data on all 3 Iranian Kilo-class submersibles to the 5th Fleet Command immediately after the Gulf incident. The message was clear. We know where all your submarines are. We can reach them whenever we choose. The cost analysis translates into figures that explain this strategic humiliation. Iran expended one Test 71 Mk torpedo with a replacement cost of approximately $500,000. Operational deployment costs, including fuel, crew, and support, totaled about $2, $7 million for the 6-day patrol. The submarine's crew would require psychological support after enduring the acoustic shock of a close-range American active sonar ping. Training for future deployments must now account for the fact that Iranian submarine movements are transparent to American surveillance. The political cost of demonstrating that their submarine force poses no credible threat to American carrier operations is incalculable. The United States expended a single active sonar ping. The electrical cost is negligible. 8 sonobuoys at $1,400 each, totaled $11,200. Helicopter flight operations were standard carrier strike group budget. Total American expenditure to neutralize the attack amounted to less than $15,000 in consumables. 0 weapons fired, 0 casualties, 0 structural damage to the aircraft carrier. The return on investment, the complete elimination of Iranian confidence in submarine operations against American carrier strike groups. The true calculation is not financial. It is strategic deterrence, measured in acoustic footprints. Every sound emitted by the Tariq during its 6-day patrol was recorded and analyzed. Iranian submarine doctrine is now documented in American targeting databases. Future encounters will not require active sonar pings. The next Iranian captain attempting this mission will surface to find Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes already positioned on his escape routes, fired from submarines he never detected. This is modern naval warfare, stripped of its mythology. These are not dramatic surface battles with visible explosions. These are surveillance networks that detect threats before they are deployed. These are acoustic sensors that track submarines across entire ocean basins. These are torpedoes that can loiter for hours, waiting for targets to swim into pre-calculated kill zones. The Iranians brought a 1970s weapon system to a fight dominated by technologies that treat the ocean like transparent glass. The Nimitz carrier strike group continued its patrol. Scheduled flight operations resumed 2 minutes after the explosion. The incident was recorded, reported, and classified. For the 45,500 crew members of the aircraft carrier, it was a Tuesday afternoon. For the Iranian Naval Command, it was proof that their submarine force operates under the permanent gaze of American surveillance. Every deployment tracked, every maneuver cataloged, every weakness exploited. The logic of deterrence does not demand explosions. It demands certainty. The certainty that any attempted attack guarantees detection, neutralization, and the permanent loss of operational secrecy. Iranian Kilo-class submarines are not invisible hunters lurking in dark waters. They are tagged specimens swimming in a monitored aquarium, alive only because the dominant predators choose to observe rather than eliminate. The Tariq returned to port with a crew who understood they survived due to American restraint, not Iranian capability. This knowledge corrodes operational confidence more effectively than any torpedo ever could. You can replace damaged ships. You cannot replace the belief that surprise remains possible when the enemy proves they see everything.